Hello and welcome to NFT Guild Roundtable number 16. Today we are blessed with the VyFinance team. We got Steven and Dylan. They're here to show us their V2 vaults and functionality, and happy to have you guys.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, as we said, thanks so much for having us. We're excited to show off what we've done. So we've been in the NFT staking arena, I'd say. We were the first project that I know of that did it on Cardano, actually, back in 2021, October 2021. And since then, we've basically been developing our functionalities so that we're able to do more and more. And we have released all our smart contracts to the availability of other projects. Sorry about speaking a little bit slowly there. And the other projects are now able to set up vaults for their communities so that their communities are able to access staking of some kind. What makes our staking particularly unique is, first of all, we can also allow for token staking, not just NFT staking. So you can stake your token to earn something else. And the other thing that makes us unique is that we are a decentralized process end to end, which means that the stake goes into a smart contract and the reward is also sitting in that smart contract. It's calculated by the smart contract and the payout is managed by the smart contract. So that means that we, as the business VyFinance, we have got zero impact or control on anything that's staked into it or any of the rewards that go out of it, right? Once the rewards are in there, they're set. Let me show you guys quickly what it looks like. Actually, sorry, I did interrupt a little there. Any questions out of that?
No questions off the bat from my end. Thank you for coming. I know it's late.
Yeah, I'm in Australia, unfortunately, and turns out Australia is a little bit too far in the future. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Forgive calculator just being there in front, and forgive my embarrassingly large game collection. Here we are. So here are the VyFinance vaults. Now, here we've got a lot of different vaults for different projects. But what we do with a project when they come on board is we actually set them up with a project page. So here are all the projects that we've got on our system at the moment. And if we go to the most recent one that's set up, GoKey, you can see that this is the project page for GoKey, and this is what they can embed and put into their site or what they can direct their team, their community to. Also, another beautiful one that we have is the Mini Magics one, is also very pretty. So the projects definitely implement sort of a bit of creativity here in how they want their page to look and how they want to present it to their community. And all of these implementations are very unique, right? So Mini Magics, for example, you stake their NFT to earn a utility token that will allow you to buy another NFT that they're releasing once these vaults end, which is 65 days that started 2.5 weeks ago, right? And the other thing that we can do is we can implement time locks, right? So not everyone wants a time lock, but some people do. So for example, with IDO Pass, what we actually did was we separated their payouts based on rarity, but he wanted all his NFTs to receive the same amount of payout, right? He didn't want it to be distinguished by payout. So instead, what we did is we actually took the rarities and we made the rarity based on how rare it was, the less time it took for you to earn that reward, right? That way we were able to make it so that each NFT was worth the same, let's say 100 tokens, right? But the super rare earns it in 30 days, whereas the common earns it in 60 days, right? So that's for the 60-day stake, and this one's for a 30-day stake. Now, let's give you guys an example of an actual stake in process. I've got a couple of NFTs here. Let's put in 10 NFTs into the 5. How many do I have here? Beautiful. It's not noticing any of that. Not noticing any of those. Love it when stuff works. There we are. We are noticing a little bit of this. So let's put in a little bit of VyFi there. So the vaults with the NFTs or with the token, they all work the exact same way. Ah, always my luck. Is that no collateral set? I'm using a new wallet and I didn't set collateral. Oh, so smart. All right. Just like I'm gonna stop sharing for a moment, set some collateral, and then I'll be back. I do apologize for that, guys. It was all going according to plan. Settings, set collateral. One moment, sorry. There we are. Now, this staking is kind of going very much, I should add, alongside with our product that we're launching very soon, which is our DEX. So we're looking to work with projects and assist them in essentially helping them garner liquidity, right? For when the actual process, for when our DEX actually launches. So in that way, what we're really hoping for is to have the capacity to essentially have the capacity to have their communities earn some of their token on our platform, and we can help them distribute that token on our platform, and then we can navigate their communities from the same platform to then be able to provide liquidity to that project using the token that they've just earned by offering rewards for the LPs and offering rewards to those communities for then doing something more with that token on the DEX, right? That way, we're hoping to create a pretty unique ecosystem where we can offer essentially a structured path for a project to be able to go from, I have a token with very few holders, to getting that token out to the community, to then getting the community to provide liquidity to that token, right? So that's kind of the process that we're trying to assist projects and NFT projects achieve, right? Now, where am I going is here. Now, what we do is, it should work now because I got my collateral staked. I really suck at life. So we'll put in 5,000 or so. VyFi. Boom, and let's see if it works this time. Giving me the error bar. Fantastic. So you just put it in like you do with any other transaction on this chain. That goes through, transaction submitted. Now we wait a moment. Unfortunately, for some reason, it's not picking up on my NFTs that I moved into this wallet. And I reckon it's because in my haste before doing this, I accidentally moved my NFTs to the wrong wallet. So I apologize. And now we just wait a moment, and that'll essentially just pop up with the, oh, that's just wanting to use single address. That's not going to be an issue on our DEX. You can have single address or multi-address. It doesn't really matter. In fact, it's not really a problem with our V2s, but we just still keep it there for posterity. We always suggest people to use single address mode as it does make life easier for the user. Come on, Cardano blockchain. Pick up the transaction. Oh, well, there it is. Boom. And then you can start to see the earnings take place. Now, in the case of an NFT, it's the exact same. It'll just come up and tell you NFT and how many of that NFT you have staked, right? And then you'll be able to see in real time the amount of tokens that you're earning. Now, when you don't have a time lock, you can harvest at any point, right? You can just click the harvest button. If there is a time lock, that harvest button doesn't become available until after the period of time that's on the time lock. And there is a countdown telling you how long there is remaining until you can harvest. So that's really up to the project to decide how they want it designed and how it'll be best fitting into their economic design and into their game or into their art project or however it is that they want to implement these. And yeah, if in the case of a Billet coin, this is a good example. For them, we do both token staking and NFT staking. So they've got 3 rarities. They've got a bronze, silver, and gold. Each of those have a different amount of payout. So the bronze receives 3.6 of their token per day. The silver receives 9 token per day, and the gold receives 20 token per day. Right. And then on top of that, after you've earned some of their token, you can then stake their token in the BLC for BLC vault, which gives you 6.57% in their token. So that's another example of a constructive system where you earn their token using the NFT. You then put that token into a vault that's on the platform so that it doesn't just sell down on the market straight away. Some people are going to put it in for a natural return. And then they're launching with a small farm on VyFi as well, so that you're going to be able to provide VyFi and BLC token to the liquidity pool to be able to earn VyFi, thereby incentivizing the community to earn tokens here and then go in and assist the project by moving it into liquidity for the project where they can earn on further farm, because they can also now earn VyFi using that token. So that's kind of an example of a full integration, right? And how we can assist projects end to end. And I'll stop sharing. Are there any questions within that?
Perfect. I would say if you're sorry, go on.
No, go ahead, Dylan. I'll ask.
I was just going to say, if you're a project building on Cardano at the moment and you want to, or maybe staking your NFT or token is something you've been thinking about, we've got a form at the top of our page you can fill out, or you can flick us a message on Twitter. We'd love to have a chat. The more the merrier. I think this service is without comparison at the moment on the blockchain. So I would have a look into it. And if that's something your project is looking into at the moment, please reach out. We'd love to have a chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue to my question, because I was going to ask, is there an option for projects? You mentioned, Stephen, that everything is decentralized, so everything is handled by the smart contract. But does a project still need to go through your assistants to be able to create a staking, or is that something that they can set up on their own?
Currently, yes, the project does have to go through us to set up staking. We're actually looking to set it up as a factory contract fairly soon after we finish our decks. So that should be launched in March, towards the end of March. So we're looking to have it so that projects can arrive, essentially put in the parameters that they want. You know, what's the policy of the NFT that's being staked? There will be more complex things that we might have to do, like separating things by rarity, for example, or like separating things by by traits that are in the metadata. They will have to be performed by ourselves. But if you just want to set up like one policy ID that gets paid the exact same amount for every NFT in that policy ID, that can be a factory contract, yes. So it really depends on how complex the implementation is, I guess, is the best answer for that. If you're having a complex implementation that requires, you know, a few different working parts, then we will need to work together to set that up. If you've got a very simple implementation where you're paying all your NFTs the same amount, you know, for the time being, you do need to set it up with us, but we do want to have that as a factory contract fairly soon. Yes.
I was wondering a bit about the incentives for this for the pool or the vault owners, so to say. When people are staking NFTs, and for that staking they get some rewards in return. Is the NFT available for some other uses during this staking
No.
period?
So with our contracts, you send the NFT to the smart contract and it's locked in the smart contract either under a time lock or where it's harvestable at any point in time. But it does actually remove the NFT from the owner's wallet, right? So it isn't non-custodial in the Cardano sense of the word. We're calling it custodial to the smart contract because on other blockchains, it is non-custodial because we don't have custody. It's not like VyFi has custody of that. You have custody of that. It's in the smart contract. Only your wallet can access it, right? Now, that being said, I can't give away too much. We are going to have non-custodial staking available to projects soon as well, though. So that is also an option. If that's what you want to set up, we can also organize that for you in the near future.
Yeah. Great. Because I was thinking about how if we were to set up a vault with tokens that could have been actually used in the meantime by the owner in some way. If that was kind of this incentive for this the vault, but
well, no. So the way that the token vaults work, right? The incentive for the project, for the most part, is the fact that it takes tokens out of circulation, right? So you've got a circulating supply of 10 million. You manage to lock up 2 million of those tokens in a vault. They're not being sold because they're in a vault, right? You give that vault some kind of reward, so you have some kind of inflation on that value. But whilst you have an inflation on that value, the idea being is that you have more value locked than what you're inflating over that period of time, right? So that's the payoff for the projects on a tokenomic perspective for having a token vault which holds their token. Another important aspect to it as well, I guess, is that in Cardano, there is always a natural return for holding Cardano because you can stake Cardano and earn 4-5%. Right, closer to 4 now, really. If you have a token and you want people to hold your token, you by nature have to compete against the fact that they can earn that natural return of holding Cardano. So it is always a good idea as a project to be able to offer some kind of natural return similar, at least similar to the level of Cardano to your users for holding your token, right? And that's another advantage that opening a token vault offers projects. You know, it gives them the ability to actually offer that natural inflation on their token that the user would otherwise be receiving if they were holding Cardano instead.
Are there any costs involved in creating vaults?
Yeah, look, there are some costs involved in creating the vaults. That's very much a case-by-case basis, right? Because we need to work out what it is that you're doing. So if you're coming in and you want to make 15 vaults versus if you're coming in and you want to make 1 vault, there's going to be a difference in output of time, effort, and capacity. Yeah. And it also depends on how complex that implementation is, right? Like if you guys, for example, you can use our vaults as a database. Here's a classic example. You can use our vaults as a database, which means if you wanted to create some kind of meta aspect to a game that you're building and you wanted to lock those NFTs and do something with it centrally, right? You could use our vaults as a process where you lock your NFTs and then you can read off of the vault on the blockchain and essentially build datums and then deal with it centrally all yourself, right? Whilst at the same time locking those NFTs off of the market. That's an example of an implementation that might be a bit more expensive to do because we would have to be integrating it into your system specifically, right? And that's something we're doing with a project right now. Versus if you're just using our platform and you're just setting it up on our platform with a vault, then that's very easy to do, right? So it's every project kind of has unique needs. So it's very difficult to just give a cookie cutter cost. Right. Generally, we're not looking at more than, a couple of thousand Cardano.
Great, thanks.
I wanted to ask, has your experience been building on Cardano? Because you mentioned that this is sort of a cutting edge staking solution, right? So I imagine that there may have been some hurdles as you're
Oh my God.
Hasn't been a lot to get inspired from. If you can briefly talk about that.
Yeah, of course. We had
also build on Cardano.
these contracts for the staking took us about 4 months to build in total. What was the really big challenge that we set ourselves was that we wanted our process, as I said earlier, right, to be end-to-end decentralized. So once the tokens have been sent in by the project for the rewards, we as a business can't touch it, right? That's no longer in our control. That's managed by the smart contract. What we can do is we can turn off the smart contract and kick it back to the wallet that sent it in, right? If you want to stop doing the staking. But essentially, if you send it straight into the smart contract, we're kicking it back to the wallet that sent it in, which is going to be directly back to your wallet, which means at no point in time do we actually have the capacity to control those tokens, right? That design had never been done on Cardano. So all the other processes that you see, which do some kind of staking, which requires you to send in the NFT, you send the NFT into a smart contract, but then the actual rewards are all managed centrally. And then there's a bot that manages the send out of the rewards based on the transactions that are built on the site. And that can lead to the problems as we observed with Mutants a few weeks ago, right? Where their bot essentially had to be fair, it was an error that a franking address. We knew about these a long time ago. It was rather sad to see that they had a franking address issue get through. But either way, that's something that we don't risk here, right? This is a process that essentially is built out off of 3 functions, right? 4 functions. It's a fairly light process, right? And we've had it attacked by white hats, and they weren't able to get in. It was kind of funny. There was a service which says we'll hack you, and we paid depending on how much shit we're able to find, and then we didn't have to pay them. It was a good feeling. So they weren't able to do shit. So yeah, basically, we've been working on NFT staking in all for 1.5 years. This is a process that we've been refining over a very long period of time. The section that really ruined my life when building it, just a little anecdote, was we had to base our count, because we count time on the blockchain, right? And it's really difficult to count time on the blockchain. So we've actually based our time in a base unit of Lovelace in the mathematics of it, right? So essentially we count in units, we count in blocks, right? And each block represents a Lovelace unit. So we count in blocks per Lovelace, and that's our time unit, right? So because that's our time unit, all of a sudden, all of the decimals are adjusted by essentially however many decimals the reward token has, because that's how we're counting the Lovelace of the reward token, right? Which means that every single time a token has a different decimal count, all the numbers in the contract change because of how we're calculating time. And it took us about a month to really understand how those decimals were functioning, so we could balance it for no matter how many decimals we had as a reward or as a staking token. And that was many 4 in the mornings getting angry at my computer because I'm like, why can't I do year 10 maths? It's just decimals. But it was actually rather complex because I'm like, how do I count time in Lovelace? I don't understand. Lovelace isn't a unit of time. So getting my head around that conceptually was tough. So yeah, it was a fun experience, but we got through it. And now we've got what I would say is the most comprehensive staking product on Cardano, right? And once our DEX is up and running, I think we'll have the most comprehensive DeFi ecosystem on Cardano with a really clear path for helping projects go from having just launched an NFT through to having some level of liquidity that they can then use. You know, if you have liquidity, you can now manage a game. You know, you can give something of value back to your community because the liquidity is what creates the value to what it is that you're providing your community, right? And we're going to be, as far as I'm aware, the only platform on Cardano that should have a constructive path to allow you to not only give out tokens to your community, right, using the assets that you've built for your community, but then also allow that community to earn a reward in another token for using those tokens to provide on our DEX, right? So the full pathway to be a liquidity partner exists, and you know we talk about that on a project by project basis as well.
Cool. I have a question because I Googled NFT staking on Cardano, and the first and only company that pops up is Cardano Lands. So I was wondering how your product compares to theirs and vice versa.
Yeah. Cardano Lands uses an entirely centralized process, essentially. I don't want to say that rudely, of course. They do custodial staking, right? Non-custodial staking as we imagine it in Cardano, which means it stays in the user's wallet. That's how non-custodial is defined within this ecosystem, which means that the entire process is centralized. They log it centrally, the rewards are held centrally, so they're held by Cardano Lands, and then Cardano Lands controls the payout, right? That's not a design that we were interested in going for. Kind of, as I did say, we are actually introducing that design so projects can do it as well, just because we have heard a few projects that want to be able to use some kind of implementation that requires that design. So coming the end of March, we should have that implementation available to projects too. So how does it change? How are we different? Our process is actually decentralized. And very soon, if you want a centralized process like that as well, we can also manage that for you. So we're kind of like Cardano Lands ++.
For those who are still not sure about which method best fits their projects, what are the advantages of a totally decentralized staking system like the ones that you're offering?
Well, the first advantage of a decentralized staking system is that it's a lot harder to muck around with. I mean, you know, insert advantages of decentralization here. But I would say that the largest advantage from a project perspective is the fact that it does actually remove that token off of the market, right? If you have a time lock, that NFT can't be sold for X period of time, right? If you've got a lower supply of the market, it boosts the value of your NFT. Users that are still able to hold that NFT whilst they're staking, that means the user can still sell that NFT at the same time, and you've actually had a much less of an upwards pressure on your market's value as a result of implementing that staking than you would have if you have them lock the NFT, right? So it's purely an advantage to your market pressure and to your NFT price. I'm just having a sip of water.
And from a technical perspective, are there any advantages that why you think projects should go for a decentralized staking solution?
I mean, our fees are lower, but that's not because I think they're inherently lower. That's just because we charge less. So there's that. Like, in my mind, it makes more sense to use the technology that the blockchain is built for, which is smart contracts that run on a project, and you as a project work together, but at no point in time do you have to really trust me, right? It's trustless. We just build a smart contract. We agree on the parameters of that smart contract. You send in a reward. We can't touch that. Users send in an NFT. We can't touch that, right? Centralized staking processes, even one with Cardano lands where the user holds the reward, right? Sorry, where the user holds the NFT that they're staking, the entire process is still centralized. So you send your rewards to whichever company is running that, and then they hold that asset, and then they control the payout of that asset. Now, I'm not saying that I don't trust the businesses that do that, right? That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But the concept and philosophy of blockchain is that I shouldn't have to trust the other business to manage that correctly, right? And with our system, you don't have to trust us. The smart contract does it.
Yeah, it sounds like there's an advantage even from a security perspective. Like instead of holding all the tokens from every project in a single wallet or vault that might get compromised, you're essentially spreading out the tokens in one smart contract for each project, or essentially multiple contracts for each project.
And what makes this smart contract so safe is that it only pays out based on time, right? And that's the Lovelace base unit, right? Lovelace per block. So essentially, once I put something into that smart contract, it mints an NFT, and on that NFT, it has the block number that has been created, right? When it was created. When you harvest that NFT, it looks at the block number that the transaction has come in on, that you've harvested the NFT. It counts all the blocks, multiplies it by the Lovelace per block, and then gives you that reward based on the Lovelace per block, based on the amount of blocks you've been in there for. So that means that you can't actually break into the rewards on the other side without being in there for the amount of blocks that are required to access that reward. Right? So there's no real breaking in. And I guess now I just described the technical problem in a bit more detail that I was having when I was trying to figure out the maths of it all, right? That's how the contract is counting, right? And that's a very unique implementation. I actually haven't seen that anywhere else on Cardano, right? And that's where we had to get creative to be able to implement this smart contract and ensure that we were able to have end-to-end decentralization, right? We had to, like anything else in this space, you have to be creative and you have to figure shit out. Excuse me, mouth's a bit dry with all this chatting. But yeah, look, we're going to continue developing these smart contracts, right? So after our DEX, we're going to be releasing a V2 version of these, V3, probably call it V2.1. It's probably a better name than V3, which is just going to give like further optimizations. So, you know, we haven't finished all the work that there is to do on staking contracts and, you know, all the optimizations that can be done. You can always make the product better, right? And we're always striving to do that. If there's any ways and when we work with projects, that's one of the things that makes us get better, right? Because projects, one of the things that shocked me is almost every project we've worked with has come to us with a different way they want to implement a vault. And I couldn't believe how many different implementations there are of vaults. They want to implement it with rarities. They want to implement it with stake pools. They want to implement it with something that they're doing on their site independently. Like all these different ways that you can implement a vault into your project. And every time we work with a project to do an implementation, we're also learning these new ways that we can implement it, right? And we're getting better and faster at putting them in place. So, you know, come down, have a chat with how you'd like to implement a vault, and would love to be able to set one up for you and show you. It's only a 24 to 48 hour process. And you can have your community staking, you know, if you come to us tomorrow by the end of the week.
Sounds good. Regarding this, the safety of the contracts, I actually had another question. Do the projects themselves hold the keys to the smart contract, or is that stored with you guys? Or
no one holds the key to the smart contract. There's an owner, but no one can access the actual funds that are inside it. Right. So we're the owner, but the owner can't like go into the smart contract and send anything out. The only way that you can earn reward is by having the smart contract count your blocks that you've got assets staked against it. In terms of what can we access, the owner is able to send in a transaction that turns off the smart contract, right? So if a project decides I don't want to stake anymore, I want to turn off staking, we turn off the smart contract so that staking ends. So everyone stakes pause. They can withdraw what they've earned up until that point, of course, right? And then we can send in another transaction that kicks the reward out to the contract that sent the reward in, or to the wallet, sorry, or the UTXO that sent the reward in, right? So they're the two.
Sorry.
Well, they're essentially the two operations that the owner can perform.
Okay, because from what you described initially, I thought that was on your side. I mean, turning off the smart contract. But
yeah, so the owner, yeah, you tell us that you want to turn it off, and the owner sends through the transaction that turns off the smart contract, right? Because we have to build it. It's a custom transaction that does it. It's not like we just send through 7 Cardano and it turns off. Mm-hmm. Right, we have to send through a transaction with a line of code.
Okay, so essentially it's a locked smart contract. It's almost like a burn contract, not exactly, but in the sense that except for the starting and the turning off, there's no other way to interact with it, and there's no
it's a closed system. It's a closed system. Right. The only way to interact with it is by staking the project's NFT to earn the reward, or staking the project's token to earn the reward. Right. And that's why we're so proud of the design. Right. That's why it is very unique on Cardano. I'm not going to say it's unique on other blockchains because it's not that unique on other blockchains, I'll be honest. But for Cardano, it's very unique, and the reason it's so unique is because it's so difficult to implement on Cardano. Right, so other projects, you always, and it makes sense, you know, you take the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance is to do centralized rewards. That's what every other staking platform has done, and it makes sense. We also, our B1s do centralized rewards as well, I should add. You know, we were the first people to ever build centralized rewards on Cardano for NFTs over 1.5 years ago. So we also followed that exact same path. But, you know, that is what spurred us to want to actually implement it properly. And that's what we've done.
I noticed on your website that it says audits in progress. Can you share a bit about that? Or
yeah, of course. So we're auditing everything with our DEX combined. It doesn't make sense to audit products one at a time because then you have to pay for independent products, right? If we paid for just the NFT vaults, then we'd have to pay for the NFT vault audit, then we launch our DEX, then we pay for the DEX audit, and it's all independent audits. We want to audit everything as a product. So we're getting all of those done as we're approaching our DEX launch. We have had an internal audit. So we have had a project, we have had well-typed, look over our code base and make sure that it's all functional. We had the white hat hackers come in and have a go at breaking into our contract as well. So we didn't go in with zero security whatsoever. We wouldn't do that. And we're looking to have our full audit done by, who is it, Dylan? How am I forgetting their name?
Is it Tweak?
No. Come on, we were talking about them just before. Come on. I was hanging out with them the entire time in bloody Lausanne.
MLabs.
MLabs, thank you. Thank you. I had a great dinner with M Labs, actually. It was good fun. They're really, really nice guys.
I think
Big
the
tech.
reason we have it there, that warning, is because we don't want to hide the fact that there hasn't been an external audit yet. You know, we want to be as transparent as possible. I think transparency is, you know, a form of currency in crypto almost. It's sort of so essential, and that's why we have it there for the time being, because we want people to know exactly what they're doing when they get there.
Mhm.
Good deal. Yeah, so you're one final question, and I have to drop off. But
I might drop off as well. It's almost 4 a.m, guys, for me. So I
Yeah.
apologize.
no worries. Yeah, so you able to facilitate all of these custom staking schemes essentially.
Mhm.
Can a company or business have a portal that accesses your smart contract on their site, or do they need to send all of their to
Not yet.
VyFi?
Not yet.
Okay.
Exactly what you're describing is what we want to build out, right? So we want to generalize this software so that any project can essentially just come in, access a portal, press a few buttons, and they're able to embed it straight into their site, right? The generalized version of that software, we're expecting to take somewhere between 2 to 4 months is our expectation of build time. So once we've completed our decks, when I'm talking about V2.1, that's essentially what I'm talking about, is a generalized form of this software that anyone can just come in, press a few buttons, and then bang, you can implement it somewhere, right? So for the time being, it's managed through ourselves, but exactly what you described is the next step that we have, and is the next, yeah, exactly. That's the next step in our plan.
Sweet. Thank you, gentlemen.
Beautiful. Well, no one hesitate to come and ask us some questions. You know, we're around, and where we want to help projects set these things up. So please touch base, and we're here to help.
That's it. I think we're fairly approachable people. So yeah, just reach out. We'd love to have a chat. And thanks to the NFT Guild for having us on. That was really good.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, guys.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thanks for presenting. And good luck with everything you're trying to build on Cardano.
Thank you very much. We'll need all the, you know, the hope and wishes we can get.
Yeah. We're starting our test net, like our private test net, in about a week. So we're collecting our beta testers now. So if anyone wants to beta test, feel free to jump into our Telegram, let us know, and we'll sign you up for a beta tester.
That's it. The wheels of progress are in motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting by measuring time in Lovelace.
Yeah, starting by measuring time in Lovelace, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly
Crazy.
think that the base unit of any meeting should be Lovelace. You know, we should have a meeting for 27 million Lovelace.
It's the revolution we need. Yeah.
I'm down to keep thinking about that. I just need to grasp how much Lovelace per second I'm
Yeah.
you know.
You and me
Yeah,
both.
exactly.
Till next time. All right, recording.
Thanks for having us,
done.
guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks for having us, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Catch
bye.
you guys. Bye.